Hello, my lovely people. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on your time zone or anytime you are coming across this platform, Linda's TV show. If it is your first time and you like what we do here, kindly subscribe, put on your notification bell to all notification. In that way, you'll be able to know when we upload a new video. Here, we educate, inform the members of the public about the happenings in the globe. We react to all forms of videos. And I want to seize this opportunity to appreciate YouTube for creating this wonderful platform. The same time, I put a disclaimer that here in Linda's TV show, we do not promote war, we do not promote violence, we do not promote hate speech. What we are here to do is to educate and inform the members of the public. And again, YouTube call for self-determination is never a call for war.
Answer that question, he would be the one to answer. But I can tell you one thing. Clearly, what we have seen are evidence of the fact that the president is not in charge. Someone else is in charge.
Too many issues, questions, no answers. See, this man, listen to this man. He said it's like Tinubu is not in charge of the government. Somebody else is in charge who does not know what to do. See, somebody said something. Mr. Darlington, God bless you. He said it's like they gave Tinubu a letter. Sign this. You are going to Asorock to sit down. Sign this. You are not going to do this. You are not going to do this. You are not going to do that. Just go Asorock and sit down. Is what is happening now. You know my problem. A lot of people are going to suffer. Now till December, January. A lot of people are still going to suffer because dollar now is like this. Now this 2 months to Christmas to January, dollar is going to go like this. Prices of everything is going to go up. So expect more increase, hardship. Because the major problem now, now they launches cash transfer. They are busy distributing that cash now. They will not relax, say they are helping Nigerians. Meanwhile, they are not doing anything. That's the problem now. Many people are going to suffer. Listen to what this man talk.
Now, the issue of certificates has a very important significance. I don't know how much we are ready to look at this issue because a lot of the discussions I have listened to or I've read about tend to be very superficial. Let me say 3 things very quickly. 1, the fact that we are arguing about certificates speaks to the quality of the people we have, or lack of it, as it were, in politics. We should be able at this level to have people whose records are so very straight that you do not need to get engaged in this. There are bigger issues that should engage this country. I've tried always to make this point, that this country already has 20 million children out of formal school system. God knows the number of people that have finished school and they cannot find jobs. We have a country of 220 million people today, but in another just 7 years down the line, we're going to grow up to 300 million. In 2050, which is not too far away, we have young people. In 25 years or thereabouts, we expect this country to be well over 400 million in population, which will make it the 3rd country after India and China. What I expect politicians to be discussing, how do you provide the infrastructure for this population? How do you provide food? How do you provide education, healthcare, jobs? Because that is what is going to make the country great. That's what's going to make the country stable. That's what's going to make the country peaceful. If you can't, you are going to go into the kind of conflict that we are beginning to see, or that we have seen for the last 1 decade or so. So the point is, it's very sad. It's a very sad commentary that our politicians are, or the kind of people that we have in politics that eventually, get into positions of power are people whose qualifications are doubted. Now that speaks a lot of volumes about the fact that of the quality of leadership we're going to get. The second point is that when it comes to, if you like, the political culture that we run has somehow accepted these things as norm. Because I would expect that the party itself should have done sufficient screening in its candidate before they even get to the point of being contesting for election.
Oh, one will also imagine that these names are submitted to INEC. Does INEC do a check?
Okay.
Does the party
I'm coming to INEC
in the first place?
I'm coming to INEC, but before they even go to INEC, they come through a political party. And a political party should have values. If they have values of integrity, then that name could not have come through.
So it speaks their candidate. So you wonder what exactly did they do?
We do that. I mean, I was secretary of a political party, as you might remember. And we have to go through that for every election. And so it means that is the failure of the party. And then we come to INEC, which is even independent. Even if the party decides to be selfish, if that's the word to use, at least the INEC being an independent, I mean, I emphasize the independence there. They should be able to carry out a due diligence and confirm, check and recheck. And so you can see the failure of the institution at the party level, the failure of the institution at INEC level, and this speaks to our political culture. And I'm saddened that we have a political culture that literally allows this rubbish to come through. The third important point.
Just remember before you got to the third point. So if we have a political culture that is dented and is hogwash, so you're not surprised that we are getting the kind of leadership that we get, not only at the presidential level, but also across the state and the local government.
Yes. Now, the other point I want to make, we are in the 21st century. Countries are, it's 21st century is a very competitive century. And if we are going to survive and thrive as a nation, we have to compete. And the competitive age that you get, the most important is knowledge. Now, if you have a system that does not prioritize knowledge, does not prioritize integrity, how can you compete? So how can we survive as a nation? How can we thrive as a nation? Look at other countries that have made progress. I mean, in the last 30 years, or even in the last decade, if you look at the countries that have made progress, they are countries that have gotten these things right because they are basic, they are fundamental to any polity. Any polity that does not prioritize knowledge, does not have integrity, does not have institutions that are working and functioning and doing their jobs, is not going to simply survive. And we are already getting there. We are already at some kind of precipice. So because we are struggling. I mean, look at the economy and look at what has happened to this lifting of subsidy. In principle, many of us will accept that this subsidy fraud should stop. But clearly, it has been stopped without any preparation for it. And see how people are suffering. People in this country, in fact, are not bothered about it. They're just trying to see how can they survive the next day. And from now to Christmas, we estimate that most people who are eating into their savings or selling some of their assets to survive would have finished. Or you may have an asset that nobody can even buy. And we are going to face a crisis of a dimension that we have not seen before. What are the political leaders? What are the politicians? In position of government, what are they preparing? When you talk to them, honestly, they have no clue. Those that I've spoken to have no clue. And they don't even see it as a problem. So we're in a very big soup. Oh, yes.
I mean, when we wonder, and the security expert that I've spoken to and said, look, if you're not careful, the manner in which the economic state of the country is going, if the shocks are not being handled properly by the leadership of the country and at the state level, crime rate will rise, and our nation...
It has already risen. It has already risen. I mean, if you follow I know not everything gets reported, but certainly the much that we're able to see around us. And look at even the insecurity has gone high. I mean, the rate at which campuses are being invaded and female students being kidnapped, within the last 1 month, how many times have we had? So definitely things are worsening. And I expect the political leaders to come together and start, but of course, like I said, I can understand why they can't do it. Because look at the failure of the institutions. In fact, like I was in a seminar not just 2 days ago, and we're discussing some of these issues. And I made the point that the political parties are actually criminal cartels. Basically. Oh yeah, because a lot of the people have one crime or the other. Look at the leadership of the National Assembly. How many people are supposed to are being investigated? And they are sitting right on their seat. The investigation has stopped and nobody is saying anything. How can you run a system like this and expect to succeed? You can't.
How do we get out of this? Because it looks like a whole bunch of
we have a way to get out of this. We have a way to get out of this. The first step is to come back and set criteria for leadership. No society, takes people just like that. For every post, for every seat you're going to occupy, you must earn it. You must qualify for it. Yes, you can go for election, but you must have those credentials that qualify you for that particular office. So that the choice that voters are going to make are choices between competent between competent people. The options that you have are options that are, in whichever option you take, at least you have some kind of minimum guarantee. But at the moment, really, there is no criterion for leadership. The criteria that we have in the Constitution is not a criterion, it's a criteria for eligibility. Now, when you come to suitability,
a minimum standard.
That's just eligibility. It just makes you eligible. But it doesn't make you suitable. And we have no criteria for suitability. And that's the problem.
And I guess that
now some of these things are not written in the Constitution, but there are norms and there are certain standards that societies keep, which apparently our one has crumbled. Not that we didn't have one.
Our traditional institution at some point, although monarchical in nature, but there are also, like you said, criteria in which you get onto that seat if you don't belong, if you don't have
the monarchy. I know they have what they call, it's like an electoral college. The people, the kingmakers, and they do have standards. So you find, for example, if a king dies and then there are 10 or 20 of his children, they're all eligible, right? By virtue of their system, right? But they are not all suitable. So how do you now take the one that is suitable? You come up with a criteria.
And you look at the United States, for example, they will tell you that some of the presidents in the past have finished from one Ivy League or the other. And you look at Singapore, for example, almost all the members of cabinet have had to go to Harvard School of Governance, and and you see the level, the effort being made to increase knowledge so that they can impact to the society.
And Shewun, this is precisely why they are making progress, right? Now, there are no two ways about it. You leave this system of merit, you run into the kind of ditch that we are in today. We are not able to solve any of our problems. Every Nigerian problem, that you see every day, it gets worse.
But those who have hope in Bola Tinubu, for example, let's speak to specifics now. Those who have hope in Bola Tinubu, who went to the ballot to vote for him, in your own view, the early stage policies and decisions that he has made, how disappointed or how hopeful are you in Bola Tinubu?
Well, as you know, I have worked with him. I was in the AC and ACN, so I have the privilege of having to work with him, and I'm honestly disappointed because I expected. He's a person who I know he would always have a book around him reading. He would always, you'll be able to engage him. But all that magic has evaporated. I don't see it.
You think he has been demystified?
I don't know.
By the federal and the national level task?
I don't know. We are still in the process. But certainly that magic, that idea of a person who can solve problems is not there. Because look at the bundle of problems that are there.
You thought that Tinubu's name is synonymous to fixing Nigeria's problems at the initial stage?
No, I didn't think that he was synonymous, but I knew that he had talents that you could apply to solve, problems. Certainly. But I don't
in the last months,
I don't find them.
Well, look at the appointments that he has made. And there has been a few reversal, withdrawal. What do you make of those kind of situations?
Well, first, I think the appointment system seems to be in crisis. Because, I mean, I worked in the presidency for 4 years, and appointments were made, and we know the processes that we go through. You never get to that point. I mean, you have to do thorough due diligence. You have to weigh and you have to consult the stakeholders. So by the time it gets to the table of the president, with all the options you have given him, whoever the president chooses, will find that he fits in and he will be accepted, because you would have done the consultations, you would have done the due diligence. But this kind of ad hoc system, it doesn't even look like the president knows when the appointments are being made. It's like he wakes up and then he suddenly discovers that such and such.
How embarrassing!
I don't know. It's terrible. We are doing this in front of the whole world.
The presidency has a proper government structure, isn't it? It's a parastatal on its own, isn't it?
Yeah, we are doing this in front of the world. And what is the world going to think of us? We are tumbling and fumbling. We don't know our left from our right. We don't seem to know who is supposed to do what. There is no system there.
What do you think could be happening? Could this be politics, or could it be bad administration going on in the presidency?
I would say it's sheer incompetence. They have gotten people who have no idea of the job they are supposed to be doing. And this is why they are, they are embarrassing the government, embarrassing the country, and because if they knew, the first thing is that if you have an appointment to make, you go through a certain processes. Fair enough, you have people who have worked for you politically and who you want to reward. For as long as they are qualified and they are able to do this job, that's fair for me. Of course, you have to also be careful, because, I mean, one thing you would never want to do if you are in government is exclusion. The moment people realize that you are taking, or you are only making preference of people who come from a particular section of the country, then you have created for yourself a huge problem. Because then you lose trust, from the people. Then you are perceived as a chauvinist, not as a national leader. And then nobody trusts what you say, and nobody can actually come out. But most of it is that people who feel excluded are going to fight back.
Let me ask you, the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation coordinates some of these appointments, and the presidency I suppose to have a handshake when there is an approver. The SGF office and all other relevant offices are supposed to have an handshake to do the diligence. Security agencies are supposed to do that. The FEMA, the young man that was appointed as the chairman of the board of FEMA, that's a federal road maintenance agency, said to have finished his youth service last year. He was an assistant to Dave Umai, the Minister of Works, a few months ago. A bright young man who finished from Brighton and all of the school in the UK, but only finished youth service, and was appointed a few days ago to head FEMA. Now his appointment has been withdrawn. There are a lot of people who have raised their fears about appointing such a young person because of his experience as a chair of a board. What do you think could have happened? Is it possible that the president doesn't know who he was appointing?
Let us be fair to the young man. This is a Nigerian young man, from what I hear, a bright young man. So really, he has no fault in this matter, in the sense that if he's being asked to do something, that's okay. But the system should have been able to know this kind of job. Who are those that, or what are the kind of qualifications that are required for this job, right? And it is this kind of criteria that will determine or guide those who are going to be, selected for that particular responsibility. So I can see clearly things have gone wrong. You are talking about the coordination and the synergy between the Office of the Secretary to Government, the Office of the Security, and all the rest of it. It looks like from the time of the last government, I remember a very senior, an MD of a big parastatal was removed, just like that on the radio. And I called him. I heard this. Is it true? He said he also heard it. So I called the Secretary of Government then. I said, Secretary, I've just heard this. For what I know is that you were the one who signed his letter of appointment. So did you... he said he also heard it on the news. He never wrote any letter to him, the Secretary to the government at that time. So it looks to me that the current president has inherited the terrible system and he's not improving on it, and this is why everything seems to be going down.
If you are the president and this kind of thing is happening, Dr. Bugajo, who would you hold responsible?
Let me tell you first, if I was the president, this thing will not even happen, Shion. It will not even happen. If it should, anybody who is involved will be fired straight away.
But who should be your go-to man?
Now,
who should be your gatekeeper?
This appointment, as far as I know, if they not change the system, is the Secretary to the government. But the Secretary to the government may not even know. He may not even know. So because I gave you an example of what happened. I called the Secretary of the government then, and he said he has no idea. I even called the Chief of Staff at that time. And I said, Chief of Staff. He said, oh, yes, he heard about it. I said, you mean you are not part of it? He said, no, I was not part of it.
So is the concept of cabalism?
Well, there are people around the president. I mean, we saw it in the last regime. And it looks like it's a continuum, which is a very sad and tragic thing, that, this thing called a few people, and, without the knowledge of the officers that are responsible, will connive and collect money and do all manners of things and then start appointing people or giving them letters. There was somebody in the last government who got one appointment from one particular, he got one appointment letter and he got another letter sacking him. Of course, he dropped the one that sacked him and took the appointment, and then later on the other person, it's all very messy. And this is the problem of incompetence. If you do not prioritize knowledge and integrity in your appointment, that is exactly what you're going to get. This country will continue to suffer because all institutions will decay, they will not do their job, and of course our image, even within the country,
if you were the president, and I ask again, this kind of flip-flop, who should be losing their job today?
Well, whoever is involved,
the question is, if I'm working closely with you, if I'm your right-hand man, because before the president makes an approval, there should be someone who checks before the president gets
precisely. That's what I told you.
So the question is, in fact, who should be the president's right-hand man?
The checks are at about 3 levels. When I was in the presidency, I mean, usually the special advisors, this is part of their job. Now, when they do that, then it goes through the system. That is, the security will do their checks, the secretary to the government will do his check, and they depend upon who you are appointing. Sometimes the head of service also do his check, if he has any record of the head of service. If he has been through the service and he's being given a political appointment. So all those that are involved must do their check, and then they come back. And you now consult the political stakeholders, either people from the party, from that particular zone, or from that particular state. You have to clear with them, because maybe he has some issues, with them. You wouldn't want until after the appointment that they do a delegation, they come and complain. Then it means that you are going to be entertaining complaints every now and then.
Dr. Bugajo, because kind of situation, is the president able to salvage this situation quickly?
I don't know. I can't answer that question. He would be the one to answer. But I can tell you one thing. Clearly, what we have seen are evidence of the fact that the president is not in charge. Someone else is in charge. Now, it's for him to figure out if he wants to really be in charge. How can a name get to the point of getting to the National Assembly for clearance? That's the final stage. And then you don't even know. Anybody who would have been involved with this should leave. And NCD, it's happening. This government doesn't seem to have any sense of shame. I'm afraid to say so. You will feel ashamed to get certain things done. And then clearly there is an element of contempt for citizens. You just do things the way you want, how you want, irrespective of the rules and regulations are there. Are you not running a democracy? Have you not sworn to uphold the Constitution? Isn't the Constitution, there to guide, all of us? Is there anybody who is above the Constitution? So this reckless kind of behavior suggests that, there is contempt. They don't see anything. And this is partly, I think, because of the way we practice our politics. It's cash and carry. People pay. And because they pay, they have a sense of entitlement, and that's it. So if we really want to have a country, we have to get out of this mess.
Hello, my wonderful people. As we have finished watching this interesting video, please, I want to see your comment, your contribution, your opinion in the comment section. Like I said earlier, let us do it constructively. Tell me what you think about this video that you have just watched, and also about the platform. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Please remember to subscribe, put on your notification bell, share this video, and remain blessed.